Hello survivors and welcome to Survivors Guild, part of the Mutant Fam Horror Consortium, a community of like-minded individuals creating content and building relationships by and for fans of the drive-in. Today we're taking a look at 1996's supernatural horror hit, The Craft. But first, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now I hope you like going back to high school and believing that the friends you have in high school will be your friends well into adulthood, because this movie's getting spoiled. The Craft, written by Peter Filardi and Andrew Fleming, and directed by Andrew Fleming, and starring Robin Tunney, Fairuza Balk, Nev Campbell, Rachel True, Skeet Ulrich, and Breckin Meyer. The Craft is about a group of 4 teenage girls who discover that each one of them have supernatural powers, and split when some of them exploit their powers for selfish purposes. And to break the fourth wall for just a minute, this movie joins the ranks with the likes of Scream, Urban Legend, The Faculty, and The Blair Witch Project for shaping my love for horror. Though my admiration for horror started when I was much younger, I cannot deny the influence that many of these great teen horror flicks had on me as an adolescent, and I truly believe that the 90s was a great decade for horror in its own right, and I still look back on its many great horror movies with appreciation. We open up to 3 friends, Rochelle, Bonnie, and Nancy, performing a witch's sabbath before they summon the opening credits, and some Our Lady Peace. We then get introduced to Sarah, who is moving to Los Angeles from San Francisco, and when their flight lands, they find that it's raining cats and dogs, and when they arrive at their new house, they find that it's leaking cats and dogs, where we find out that her dad opted for size rather than Aaron. And who would disagree? After all, it's the size that matters, not how much it leaks. Ugh. Sarah then goes to her room and marks her territory by placing a picture of her dead mom in it, which is less taboo than marking it with your urine, before she heads downstairs to unpack some of her stuff, but gets jump scared by a homeless dude bringing a housewarming gift.
Found us out back, you wanna? Relax, what's the matter with you? Relax!
Who her dad immediately chases away.
Get the hell out of here! What the hell?
Sheesh, is that any way to treat your neighbors? Cut over to the next day when Sarah's dad is dropping her off at school and we find out that the school requires a uniform and she hasn't got hers yet, but she is going to attend anyway, which if I'm going to be honest, fills me with an unacceptable amount of anxiety just thinking about. New school, new student, no uniform, no bueno. And it's here we find out that this is a Catholic school as well. We cut over to those 3 friends from the opening of the movie, Bonnie, Nancy, and Rochelle, who are being mocked by Chris, Mitt, and Trey.
I thought it was Satan.
And we then find out that the trio of enchanters are awaiting the arrival of their 4th. A little later in French class, while the teacher is embarrassing Mitt.
Oui. Beaucoup de laid.
Bonnie catches Sarah practicing her pencil balancing skills before breaking her concentration. And later breaks it to her friends that she has discovered their 4th.
Hey, do you guys mind if I sit with you? Because I'm supposed to find a lab group. Okay.
At lunch, Chris takes the opportunity to apologize to Sarah about his friends, but is a little slow on the uptake.
I just wanted to apologize for those guys in French. They're assholes.
You know what they say, you are what you hang with.
Yeah, right. Wait, did you just call me an asshole?
And he also warns her about the 3 girls that wouldn't let her sit with them in the lab, and lets her know that they are witches.
They're witches.
And then invites her to watch his football practice in the weirdest way possible.
So what are you doing after school?
I don't know. Nothing, I guess.
Really?
Really?
I'm busy. Football practice. You can come and watch.
But it's enough to get Sarah to attend, where she is approached by the trio of Toil and Trouble. When Rochelle apologizes on behalf of Nancy and the group introduces themselves to Sarah, and then warn her about Chris.
Go on! Go for the pass, baby! He's a jerk.
And then invite her to go shoplifting with them. While on their outing, they discover that Sarah has attempted to kill herself by slitting her wrists. They head into an occult store, and Bonnie gives a naturalistic defense for stealing.
Everything in nature steals, you know. Big animals steal from little ones.
They steal for survival.
And when Sarah tries to make her way into the back area of the store, she is stopped by Lirio, who runs the establishment, who knows more about the crew than they thought.
And you're going to pay for those? Uh-huh. You're not like your friends.
The store owner lets her know that she might be a natural witch, despite her not being schooled in the practice. Later into the evening, the group enters into the seedier side of town where Sarah gets accosted by that same homeless dude who's been trying to get rid of that snake for ages.
I'm talking to you. Come back, child. Come back to Jesus.
But just can't quite make a deal, and chases her down the street before she crosses it. But when the dude doesn't look both ways, he gets hit by a car.
Listen to me.
Whew, I hope that snake's okay. And though we never get confirmation of his death, that tire running over his head is a pretty good indication that this dude lands at number 1 into our meat bank. The group flees the scene, and when the group takes a breather, they discuss that they may have willed that car to hit him, cause it's not like he was crossing the road or anything. I might believe that they willed the car to hit him if he was in a swimming pool or maybe a ball pit or something, but the middle of the road? That seems like a reach. The group decides that Sarah is indeed their fourth, and then they tell her the Gospel of Minot. They explain that if God and the devil were playing football, Minot would be the stadium. Sarah explains to them the extent of her powers, where she essentially gets what she wants, but not the way that she wants it. And Nancy tempts her with the gateway craft of invoking the spirit.
You can do that. You ever heard of invoking the spirit?
And the way Nancy explains it creeps Sarah out.
It's like you take him into you. It's like he fills you. He takes everything that's gone wrong in your life, and he makes it all better again.
So she leaves. Cut to sometime later when Sarah is hanging out with Chris, when he invites her to his house, since no one is there and she declines.
Are you mad?
No.
Well, you kinda seem mad. Flash forward to the next day, when Sarah finds out that Chris has been spreading rumors that he and Sarah did the deed, and Nancy really plays it up to get to Sarah. And this is where we find out that he has previously done the same thing to Nancy, and when Sarah calls him out on it, he shows his true colors.
Look, I don't want to go out with you again, okay? Please stop begging, it's pathetic.
We then get introduced to Laura, who bullies Rochelle based on the color of her skin.
I really want to know why. Because I don't like.
We then find out that Bonnie is going through an experimental and painful procedure to cover up the scars that she has all over her body. And then Nancy's plight when she returns home to the electricity being shut off, her mom drunk, and her mom's boyfriend passed out. And the roof is leaking. Sometime later, the group take a trip out of town and partake in a blood ritual where each of them expresses their desires and then drink from a chalice that each of them bled into. Rochelle drinks to love those who hate her. Sarah drinks to love herself despite how others feel about her. Bonnie drinks to be as beautiful on the outside as she is on the inside. And Nancy drinks in the full power of Minot.
And I take into myself all the power of Manon.
One of these things is not like the others. And then a swarm of butterflies show up, in affirmation of what they did. The next day at school, the spell appears to be working when Chris becomes infatuated with Sarah.
Did you tell your friends?
What?
You're a lying sack of
No. But I will.
And is willing to do whatever she asks.
Dude, she's got that back.
And this. Thanks.
A little later, while the girls are having a slumber party, Nancy brings up a game that every 90s kid tried at a sleepover.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Only this time it actually works. Damn, I guess my friends were just a little too heavy.
You guys, it's not working. Whoa.
Shut up or you're gonna fall.
But when Bonnie's mom knocks on the door, Rochelle drops to the floor.
It's for everyone.
So maybe she was too heavy too. We then get a montage of sorts showing the growing bond between the four girls, as they each get what they asked for. And we also learn that Sarah's mom died giving birth to her. We see that Rochelle's hex on Laura is going swimmingly when she starts losing tremendous amounts of hair. And that Bonnie's scars are peeling off like a 4-day-old sunburn.
It worked.
Yeah, science! I mean, yeah, Mano! And later at school, Bonnie shows up a little late, with way less clothes but way more confidence, only to be hit on immediately by Mitt and Trey.
Holy sh**.
Hey, Bonnie. How's it going?
We then see the beginning fracture of the group when Rochelle gives Sarah the accolades for the success their magic is having, which bothers Nancy, who is still after the unlimited power that Senator Palpatine told her about. And later that night, her mom's boyfriend harasses her before assaulting her mom, which initiates Nancy's power to explode kitchen appliances. And while her mom tends to the fire, her boyfriend Ray tends to his shoulder when his heart attacks him. Well, clearly he wasn't all that healthy, so I'm not surprised. Fine, it was probably Nancy. Landing Ray as deposit number 2 into our meat bank. But as it turns out, Ray had a life insurance plan through his work which goes to them upon his death, to the tune of $175,000, which doesn't sound like that much today, but back in 90s money, guys, that was $175,000.
Oh.
Sometime later, at Nancy's new apartment, complete with a couch and a jukebox that only plays Connie Francis records, the girls practice a spell called Glamour, in which Sarah turns her hair into CGI. And then back. Praise Mano! Later that night, or some other night, I really have no idea, Chris shows up outside Sarah's house, all drunk on witchcraft, at 3 a.m. declaring his love for Sarah.
Hey, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking maybe we could move in together.
Which means instead of a love enchantment, she conjured a stalker. So sometime later, Sarah approaches the bookstore clerk, Lirio, to find out how to undo this love spell, and she lets Sarah know that it must run its course. And while Sarah, Bonnie, and Rochelle give Lirio an ear, Nancy finds herself captivated by this book and must have it, despite Lirio's warnings.
You want to invoke the spirit? You must be experienced to do this. It's very dangerous.
Look, lady, I'm a big girl, okay? Now please just sell me the book.
And sometime later head to the beach with their spirit animals. The group invokes the spirit, if you know what I mean, causing the containers with their spirit animals to explode, before Nancy gets struck by lightning, and may be invoked by the spirit. The next morning, the group looks on as Nancy walks on the water, all invoked by the spirit and stuff. The group appears uneasy, probably realizing that if there is one person in their group that shouldn't be invoked with the spirit, it's Nancy. But look at all those dead sharks! Mano couldn't possibly be all that bad, right?
These are my gifts!
That night, maybe, Sarah brings up her concerns about how everyone is dealing with their power, mentioning that she is humiliating Chris, unintentionally, and that Bonnie has become a narcissist, and she's just not so sure she likes what they're becoming. The next day, or who knows when, oh man, I really hope time is linear, Rochelle sees hair all over the locker room floor before finding Marcia in the shower crying about her hair, and then she finds a broken mirror. Oh yeah, that mirror is not working properly. And later still, Sarah agrees to a date with bondaged Will Chris, who's not making any kind of sense.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's like we're one person, you know what I mean?
No, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. That's so funny. I was just thinking, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
And then he tries to force himself onto her, but she knees him in his little wizard and runs away. She runs all the way to Rochelle's house, and they call the coven together for an emergency meeting, where Sarah tells all of them what happened. Nancy, feeling all wicked and stuff, decides to head to Trey's party where Chris most certainly is. Chris approaches her, asking if Sarah is with her, and she brings him to a room upstairs. Chris, who is very drunk and could not possibly give consent, even if he wanted to, is confused as to where Sarah is. He falls on the bed and Nancy climbs onto him. He tells her to stop, but she won't listen, kinda like how he wouldn't listen. My, how the tables have turned. And he pushes her off of him, and she then uses the glamour spell to make herself look like Sarah, making Chris more willing. The other three show up to the party to retrieve Nancy, but Sarah walks in on Chris making out with the imposter. And when Chris starts growing concerned, Nancy breaks the news to him that he is under a spell. Chris accuses Nancy of being jealous, which drives Nancy to glide across the floor and act like a full-blown crazy person.
Sorry!
Or a full-blown witch.
Sorry!
Which in turn causes Chris to fly backwards out the window. But don't worry, he really sticks that landing into our meat bank at deposit number 3. Sarah, taking his death pretty hard, attempts to bind Nancy from doing any more harm to herself or others, but she is still plagued by nightmares of the three. And plagued by the reality of the three when she is awake. When at school, Nancy accuses her of wanting to leave the circle.
I didn't say it. You don't need to say it. You're thinking it.
knowing that she is thinking it, and when she says it out loud, the triangle lets her know through threats that that was a mistake.
In the old days, if a witch betrayed her coven, they would kill her.
Later, Sarah visits Lirio seeking help on how to deal with her ex-coven. And when Lirio takes her to that back room that they weren't allowed to go in earlier, Sarah finds out that it's actually a temple built on a place of power. And she learns that her mom was also a witch and that she can defeat those that oppose her. But she must surrender herself to the higher power by invoking the spirit. But right after they begin invoking the spirit, a weird magic explosion happens, causing Sarah to leave before that invoking is finished. Which sucks, because under-invoked spirit is going to make you sick. Sarah runs away like she's never run before, running all the way home, only to find that no one is home. When all of a sudden, the phone rings and Nancy lets her know that her parents hopped on a plane thinking she had run away back to San Francisco, and that there has been an accident. But she senses that something's not right and leaves the house only to find that the house is all infested and stuff. No wonder it was so cheap. And just when Sarah can't handle anymore, Nancy jump scares her and lets her know that she should probably just kill herself.
If I was as pathetic as you are, I would have killed myself ages ago. You should get on with it.
And when she leaves the bathroom, she finds out that the whole infestation was an illusion that her ex-coven caused, and they are waiting for her downstairs. Nancy continues, egging her on to take her own life, and the three wicked witches start flying. They produce a note in Sarah's handwriting that says that she killed Chris before Nancy cuts Sarah's wrists. Sarah is convinced it's not real, but is still thoroughly freaked out, so she runs upstairs. Nancy sends Rochelle and Bonnie to check out how the whole suicide thing is going, but Sarah is too busy popping that spirit back in the oven to finish invoking, which causes Bonnie to have an illusion where her scars are back and worse than before, and for Rochelle to see that her hair is falling out, and they decide that it's time to leave.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
Nancy heads upstairs to see what all the invoking is about, only to find a broken mirror. Survivors, seriously, don't forget to have your mirrors checked every 6 months. A malfunctioning mirror is no laughing matter. Sarah, now all invoked with the spirit and stuff, starts turning Nancy into a home for bugs and snakes, before rubbing it in her face that it's only magic.
Oh, relax, it's only magic.
Nancy, not wanting to play this game anymore, apologizes and offers to leave, but Sarah wants to do just one more thing, and begins binding Nancy from doing any harm against herself or others, which causes Nancy to full-on lose it before a dresser slides across the room, crushing Sarah. Nancy digs through the ditches, seeking to burn that witch's, but only finds Sarah's clothes. Haha, where would she go without all of her clothes? But Sarah didn't go anywhere without her clothes. She was there the entire time. She kicks Nancy in the nads, sending her flying across the room and into a mirror, and then finishes binding Nancy. Sometime later, Rochelle and Bonnie show up to apologize for trying to kill Sarah, and we then get to see that Sarah's parents aren't actually dead. They then try to pass off what they did as some sort of joke before asking Sarah if she still has her powers, because theirs are gone, and then they invite her to hang out sometime. Sarah tells them to hold their breath until she calls and walks away. Rochelle tells Bonnie that Sarah probably lost her powers too, so Sarah shows them that she's still got them. And then warns them that they wouldn't want to end up like Nancy, who is shown to be rotting away in an asylum, and the movie ends. So now, to find out, what are your chances of suffering survivor's guilt? This is where we take a look at our main characters and the death that surrounds them to determine your chances of surviving this movie. We start off our meat bank deposits with the snake body salesman at deposit number 1, followed by Ray heart attacking in at deposit number 2, and then Chris flying into our meat bank at deposit number 3. Now let's take a look at our survivors. We've got Sarah, Bonnie, Rochelle, Nancy, and Lirio. I'm not going to count anyone else because they weren't super consequential to how the movie played out, and it would make your odds better, and Ghostfake don't play that game. So that means that out of a total of 8 characters, 5 survive, giving you a 62.5% chance of surviving this movie. Given those odds, what color would you change your hair to using only magic? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if this is your first time on my channel, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Also, don't forget about the Mutant Halloween 24-hour marathon live tweet on Twitter. Join us for a marathon of all your favorite horror movies, and live tweet along with the Mutant Fam. And as always guys, thanks, and don't die.
Hello, internet fans. Do you want to learn about horror movies that you never knew existed? Do you miss the video store but not the late fees? Then join us at 3B Video, where we talk about stuff like this, and this, and this. If you'll excuse me, I've got some videotapes to return. You like Huey Lewis in the news?